Top 10 Disney Star Wars propasti. Nerdrotic.com. Obožavam ove njegove klipove, majke. Odličan. Brate, kad neko uzme i sakupi sve ovo ovako na gomilu i kad vidiš šta je sve bilo, majko moja, kakve budalaštine. Ovo je previše budalaštine, ovo je sve upropastilo i ovo čudo.
Disney Star Wars has put the dim and diminishing returns after what was perceived as a promising start turned into fool's gold, and since then, it's been a series of new and unique failures. Things have gotten so bad, it's forced the Hollywood Reporter to write this article 8 years too late. Is Disney bad at Star Wars? An analysis. The answer is yes. Disney is very bad at making Disney Star Wars, and the only question left is, what is some of the worst? Well, we here at Nerdrotic have assembled a team of our own to do our own analysis. This is the top 10 Disney Star Wars failures. Number 10, the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Hey, Admiral. Hello there. I'm super excited to see what you and your team created. We cannot wait to have you aboard because Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is a first of its kind vacation experience where you get to spend 2 days and 2 nights living out your very own.
Samo što su napravili za drugu vrstu mase, ne za fanove. Evo, sad vidite koja je vrsta mase ovdje.
Star Wars story.
We've had nothing to do since 3:30.
Yeah.
So
we've really focused on making sure we have some of the best entertainment in the galaxy on board.
Please close your eyes and allow your taste buds to awaken.
It's got cold. It's a cold egg.
This is the closest you can get to being in a galaxy far, far away.
It's bad enough that Disney took the Star Wars-themed Galaxy's Edge, which could have been the Wizarding World for Star Wars fans, but it turns out it was closer to the Wonka experience in Glasgow, with a sterile environment, overpriced blue milk, and dysfunctional rides.
Please stay seated.
And a focus on Disney Star Wars characters that came straight from the top.
To je bio problem. Fokusirani su na njihove filmove bili koji su bili propast, a ne na originalne Star Wars filmove.
Kathleen Kennedy, who said she didn't want to build a Star Wars land for old fans in their 50s. And that's...
Ona ih je upropastila sve, ona je uništila totalno taj Lucasfilm od kad je preuzela i pocepala je Disney sa svojim izborima i odlukama. Pocepala ih.
Probably what led to the spectacular failure of something adjacent to Galaxy's Edge, the Galactic Star Cruiser. Now, there's a video out there that's over 4 hours long that breaks down every single aspect of this disaster, and I recommend you watch it, but I think we can get this done in a couple of minutes. Their first mistake was the promotional trailer. Instead of having a hotel based in, say, Cloud City, where you and your family could dine with Lando Calrissian, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, Darth Vader, and Boba Fett, or the little tykes can hang out with the Ugnaughts and scrap C-3PO, or take the wife to watch Han Solo get tortured. Instead, Disney decided to torture you and make you pay for it by giving you rooms that were smaller than my prison cell. But why hang out with Lando Calrissian and Lobot when you can hang out with Disney original characters, including a blue middle-aged woman and a Twi'lek singer who's also an activist who fights for the rights of her people?
Naravno da su aktivisti bili tamo. Nije ni čudo što ste propali. Zaista nije ni čudo. Sad mi je jasno sve.
Look above and see the world slowly emerge before your eyes.
And why in the hell would you want to watch Luke Skywalker duel Darth Vader when you can watch Rey put down her lightsaber, pick it back up, and duel Kylo Ren? with an average double occupancy room price of $4,800 and suites that range from $12,000 to $20,000 with add-ons. It forced one executive to admit that Galactic Star Cruiser was a tough sell, and we agree. Trying to get Star Wars fans to shell out thousands of dollars a night for a hotel.
Ne da je preskupo, nego to je ludilo od skupoće bura. Za koga ste vi ovo pravili, bre? Za milionere.
That doesn't have any Star Wars in it is a tough sell. Unsurprisingly, Disney took a $300 million loss and shut the Galactic Star Cruiser down.
Da.
Number 9, Disney Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh my god, igrice. Katastrofa. Puna gličeva, bagova, budalaština. Oh my god. Ovakih scena ima milion. Ovo je loša igrica. Ovo je pravi primjer loše igrice.
This is like a vast looking game. I think Ubisoft has done a really, really good job, by the way.
You there?
Never mind.
Touted.
Ajoj, jel si ti plaćen možda bio da hvališ ovu igricu pa si propao, buraz. Čuj ovo, moramo opet.
This is like a vast looking game. I think Ubisoft has done a really, really good job, by the way.
You there?
Ajoj, kako ste se obrukali, brate mili. Odličan posao su obavili. Ode u majčinu.
Touted as one of the biggest and best Disney Star Wars games ever made, with a budget ranging from $200 to $300 million and a team of 600 people working on it for over 5 years. The expectations were high. That was at least until the trailer was released, which is somewhat of a surprise because it features the type of character Disney Star Wars hasn't put into a Disney Star Wars product for at least a month, the female protagonist. And this time it's yet another derivative female version of Han Solo, Ma'am Solo.
Samo da nije muškarac više.
Hi, my name is Umberly Gonzalez and I play Kay Vess in Star Wars Outlaws.
Da pogledaj nju, slatka ko lutka, pogledaj lika u igrici.
She's a scoundrel. She's really good at sneaking around. She's so fearless, there's no stopping her.
Yes, she is a scoundrel, but she's not as cool and collected as a Han Solo or as a Lando. She has a bit more vulnerability. She's kind of rough around the edges. She's got this kind of crack in the armor, and so you get to relate to a character like that. It could be like you, or me, or anybody out there that's playing, which I think people are gonna love.
Yeah. But you have to tip your hat to the 600 people who worked on this game and put their nose to the grindstone to make this actress look like this.
Gaming.
It takes a certain kind of commitment to fuck up this much, and Ubisoft and Disney sunk to the occasion with gameplay that, according to my fellow gamers, is just embarrassing. That ranges from frustratingly mediocre to broken.
It's not a functional game. It's like broken to the core, not just because it's buggy. A lot of its inherent like ideas and sort of like conceits as a game are unpolished, unrefined, incomplete, or just
It should surprise no one that this game is a flop, only selling 1 million of the 5.5 million units needed just to break even. And while Disney stock isn't exactly doing spectacular right now, Star Wars Outlaws hurt Ubisoft the most. It was a contributing factor for its stock tanking to an 11-year low, and now Ubisoft may be for sale at a discount.
Da, ovo je sjajno, napravili su džaba da hate kao rebela, brate mili, koji vozi avion. Kako on vozi avion sa svojim tim groznim telom, nemam pojma, kako stane, šta, ništa mi nije ostalo. Umro od smeka.
They're making The Mandalorian. They need to come to you for advice, right? For more Star Wars TV shows.
Oh, for the day then someone wakes up over there in Disney and make a proper Star Wars with the bounty hunter. Let's focus on my spaceship and myself and going out to get some bounty. All action. We'll see what happens. I'm cruising on my Bantha on the sands of Tatooine. Yes, I'm cruising on my Bantha.
Meni Boba Fett nije bilo toliko loša serija, ali ono, verujem da je mnogo fanova očekivao sasvim nešto drugo od Boba Fetta.
Like a bantha. Yes? Maybe not.
Number 8, Boba Fett.
Vuko, Boba Fett je u stvari bio kao neki nastavak Mandalorian prve sezone, ako se ne varam. Mandalorian u jednoj epizodi se pojavlja bukvalno kao glavni lik. Boba Fett uopšte nije bitan tu. Strašno.
Arguably the worst made Disney Star Wars until very recently. And 3 of the 7 episodes were directed by Robert Rodriguez. A series so obviously hastily put together, Lucasfilm didn't give the show's star, Tamara Morrison, time to prepare for the role. Because somehow Boba Fett gained weight in the Sarlacc and became Boba Fett.
So I had to do some bench press and some curls. And I tried to cut back on the beers so the stomach wouldn't be out too far. Because some of these fans were calling me Boba Fett.
Whether it's suffering from Tuscan syndrome, dealing with a bunch of space Vespa riding Hot Topic models, this show was a complete and comical disaster.
Like a panther.
And to make things worse, Boba Fett doesn't appear in almost 2 episodes of his own 7-episode series. Those 2 episodes were actually dedicated to voice actor Pedro Pascal's Boba Fett knockoff, The Mandalorian, Yoda knockoff, Baby Yoda Grogu, and Luke Skywalker, completing the circle jerk of creative bankruptcy, who turns out to be a major asshole after he sends the 50-year-old infant Baby Yoda packing from his Jedi dojo.
You want all the girls to think you're a wangless dork? Because you could stop your training right now and you could walk outside and let the whole world know you're a loser. Like, get the hell out of my dojo.
One thing this guest appearance did accomplish was completely ruin the entire point, and I use this word very loosely, premise of The Mandalorian Season 2 and 3.
Mislim, bilo je cool to što su vratili Luke Skywalkera, iako mi je izgledao izuzetno neprirodno i čudno. Bolje da su stavili drugog glumca, lepo neko ko liči na Luke Skywalkera. Recimo, glumac koji je glumio Winter Soldiera bi mogao da posluži za to. I da su nastavili neku priču sa Luke Skywalkerom, zaista. Umesto toga dobili smo ove budalaštine. Šta je ovo bilo? Evo, bože, ovo je tako cool.
3 points. Winner. There you go.
Number 7, there is a tie between The Mandalorian Season 3 and Ahsoka.
My kids actually were showing me on social media that Lizzo was posting a lot of stuff around this. They would be like, Dad, you're doing all these Baby Yoda videos. We're like, we could do something really cool and interesting, and wouldn't it be great to be working with somebody would be so excited to be working with Grogu?
How does Season 3 continue the Mandalorian's quest to learn more about himself and explore his relationship with the child?
The Mandalorian Season 3 will only be remembered for 2 things, the Jack Black and Lizzo cameo, and The Mandalorian giving the dark saber to Bo-Katan and not the good...
Joj, da, Bura, znači on je osvojio taj mač po svim tim njihovim pravilima koji su prikazali u toj seriji i na kraju je ova ženska dobila mač, eto tako, zato što Kobojagi zaslužuje na osnovu ne znam čega i dobila ga je naravno preko tih svojih pravila koji su imali. Ne, samo da bi žena preuzela glavnu ulogu, to je jedino bilo bitno, po svaku cenu, makar prekršili sopstvena pravila.
Also featured in one of the 2 episodes of the Boba Fett series without Boba Fett is Ahsoka.
Zamisli, brat, bez Boba Fett, ali Boba Fett.
A series that consists of women crossing their arms and staring at each other while they search for balls. A show that completely wasted the last appearance of Ray Stevenson, featuring another cheap cameo from...
nažalost, čovjek je preminuo, ne mogu da verujem. Greota. On je jedino bio dobra stvar u toj seriji. Velika Greota, jako dobar glumac, šteta.
Aiden Christensen.
Evaded!
And turning the formidable tactical master Grand Admiral Thrawn into Homer Simpson. A masterclass of ineptitude brought to you by Robert Rodriguez, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni, and we're just getting started. Number 6, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan, mislim, sama ponovna pojava Darth Vadera je bila dovoljno jaka da gledam ovu seriju, naravno. Darth Vader jeste Star Wars, da se ne lažemo. Bilo ga je mnogo cool vidjeti, bile su mnogo cool scene, međutim, bile su i mnogo glupe scene. Jedna od tih scena jeste ovo bežanje princeze Leje kad je bila mala od zlikovaca koji ne mogu da ju uhvate i da je stignu. Kad su pravili ovu scenu, stvarno ne znam gde im je bila glava, gde im je bio mozak. Nevrovatno. Pazi ovo.
Choose life, choose a job, choose a career, choose a family, choose rotting away at the end of it all, pissing your last in a miserable home. Choose life.
After alienating all the original trilogy fans, it was time for Disney to capitalize on the prequel fans. The very same ones they disrespected with the first line of dialogue in The Force Awakens.
This will begin to make things right.
Touted by fade-in Kathleen Kennedy as the rematch of the century, Obi-Wan Kenobi turned out to be a contributing factor to the disappointment of the century, Disney Star Wars. And the first red flag hoisted up by Lucasfilm letting us all know there might be something wrong with this series, a company well known for turning the audience into an enemy, more on that later, decided to try something new with the fan attack, making it preemptive.
They're trying to help you prepare for this backlash, and there are people out there.
Da, izmislili su da je backlash bio zbog ove crnkinje, zato što je crna. To je bio valjda među prvim pokušajima sa tim rasizmom da učutkaju fanove s bukvalno strahom. Nazoveš ih rasistom i to bi trebalo da nekako da reši probleme. U stvari, uopšte nije backlash bio zbog toga, već jednostavno zbog cele serije, zašto je bila loše napravljena, a njena uloga je bila nedobro ispričana. Meni lično se svidela njena uloga s početka i u poslednje 2 epizode je prestala da mi se sviđa iz razloga što je u predzadnjoj epizodi ponovo dobila od Darth Vadera mač u stomak i opet preživela isti taj udarac kao kad je bila klinka, gde su u suštini sabere jednostavno skroz unizili do te mere da nikog ne mogu više ni da ubiju sa njima. I naravno u poslednjoj epizodi, onda u poslednjoj borbi između Obi-Wan i Darth Vadera su ubacivali njene scene, sekli su tu dobru scenu sa njenim lošim scenama i nepotrebnim scenama i to je ono što je izazvalo backlash po mom mišljenju.
Who say some really awful things.
You know, they've been really great about connecting me with the people who've like been through this. I haven't necessarily reached out. You know what I mean? It's weird.
This was followed by a tweet from the Star Wars account on Twitter warning against any backlash. Coincidentally enough, just a couple of days later, Moses Ingram made a video talking about the backlash she received on Instagram.
Yeah, weird.
And after that, we got an impassioned car video from Ewan McGregor talking about the backlash that, quite frankly, was a better performance than anything it did in Kenobi. And now we know why Lucasfilm went through all that trouble, because they released the show and it was awful. What should have been an old Western type series of the old Jedi Master babysitting a future quitter. I mean, he had one job: keep your eye on Luke Skywalker at all costs. And what does Disney Star Wars do? Have him f*** off in the first episode. And then it devolves into a modern Lucasfilm
da spasi. Znači, ostavio Luke Skywalkera koji je bio jako bitan za budućnost cele galaksije i otišao da spašava princezu Leju, rizikujući da se Luku nešto desi i da zezne sve kompletno zašto je uopšte i bio tamo.
Fever dream. Whether it's the 10-year-old Princess Leia who waddles like a toddler being able to outrun Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Reva, or Illyria Sand from Game of Thrones knocking down a stormtrooper, or the wise Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi being unable to get through a gate he can clearly walk.
Da, pazi ti ovo, znači ne znam o čemu ste razmišljali kad ste pravili ove scene, pobogu? Još ste digli kameru iz ptičje perspektive da se jasno vidi da može čovjek da prođe okolo, da uopšte ne mora kroz lasere. Šta nije u redu s vama je?
Walk around, or the wise Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi hiding little Princess Leia under his coat, or the rematch of the century being some of the worst lightsaber dueling while outside of Ahsoka. When it was all said and done, the prequel fans now...
Dobro, nije bilo toliko loše. Ja mislim da je malo preterao ovome. Da je bilo boljih, bilo je, ali nije ovo toliko bilo loše.
Completely understand how the original trilogy fans felt.
Disappointed!
There's so, I don't know, there's something so relatable about her in that role, and she's playing the type of role that I would have, that's the type of action figure I would have wanted the most.
O kome priča? Gina Carano. najjače. I njoj su dali otkaz, eto, zbog njenog mišljenja, koje tada, a ni dan danas nije popularno. Nije ono mišljenje koji su svi ostali u Hollywoodu imali, tako da morala je da napusti njihove prostorije Disneyjeve. Ali sada je suđenje u toku, sada će biti payback time. Gina protiv Disneya. Naravno uz pomoć Ilona Muska i njegovih novčanica.
You got an action figure? I didn't get an action figure.
Phase 2, man. Season 2, don't worry.
You're lucky.
Pazi, ona je dobila figuru, čoveče. Redko koja ženska dobije figuru, zašto nisu uglavnom popularne. Devojčice ne kupuju takve stvari, muškarci kupuju, jel, muške stvari. Ali njenu figuricu su kupovali.
Number 5. The firing of Gina Carano. After the abysmal Disney trilogy, the one saving grace for Disney Star Wars was The Mandalorian, written by Iron Man's Jon Favreau and starring Game of Thrones' Pedro Pascal, and featuring the most popular product Disney Star Wars had ever created, Baby Yoda. But another popular character was called Cara Dune, played by former MMA fighter turned actress Gina Carano.
Sjajna.
I love.
Ona je jako simpatična devojka, jako je pametna i dobra. To se vidi po njoj stvarno, mnogo je ljubazna i kulturna i stvarno je na mestu. Mnogi ljudi zapravo zaista vole. Tako da to što su je otpustili, mnogi su im gadno zamerili.
Cara Dune is a badass, and I can genuinely say that she's been one, if not my most favorite character to play. I'm so grateful. I just absolutely love being here.
I zato su je ljudi volili, zato što ona volila da glumi tog svog karaktera i to se osetilo.
That's cool. I'm very proud of The Mandalorian. It's about becoming part of something larger than yourself.
This is the way.
Did you expect The Mandalorian to become such a global phenomenon?
Honestly, I was just happy to get to make Star Wars.
Everything was looking up for this series, especially after a finale that featured a cameo with Luke Skywalker that made grown men cry the sky was the limit. The only question is, how would Lucasfilm follow this up? Well, of course, Kathleen Kennedy was snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory and fired Gina Carano.
This is not the way. Actress Gina Carano is no longer a part of the Mandalorian cast after an online protest called for her firing after a social media post. Carano's post...
A znate šta je druga strana sa drugim razmišljanjem sve imala da kaže, šta je sve izgovarala i dan danas šta sve pišu i na tom Instagramu i na njihovom Twitteru ili X-u. Take gadost. Evo sad na Twitchu po najnovijem, eto, Azmangol je bio banovan zbog njegovog mišljenja, slično kao što i ona imala, a ova druga strana ubiše se od pljuvanja, nikom ništa. Znači, dupli standardi, haos.
Liken the experience of Jewish people during the Holocaust to the U.S. political climate. A Lucasfilm spokesperson says Carano is not currently employed by them with, quote, no plans for her to be in the future.
In truth, she was fired because she wouldn't put her pronouns in her bio and bend the knee to the mob of Jack Dorsey's Twitter.
Zamisli, nije htjela da stavi pronouns u njenu biografiju jer je odbila da stavi budalaštine koje današnja moderna publika želi toliko da provuče sa svojim ideologijom kroz ceo entertainment. Eto što se desi kad neko odbije te njihove budalaštine. Odmah je neprijatelj broj 1.
But eventually the truth came out. There was a lot of people at Lucasfilm that conspired against her, and Kathleen Kennedy wanted her gone despite others who worked on the show who didn't, like Jon Favreau. To keep her job, they wanted her to go through a struggle session with 40 members of the LGBTQ plus community in a Zoom meeting.
Zamisli, čoveče, da je stave, da je objašnjavaju LGBT aktivisti kako treba da razmišlja. Zamislite ko je to, šta je to, Hydra ili Disney, ne razumem. Zamislite koliko su oni bolesni tamo, čoveče. Ovo mora da bude uništeno. Cijela ova ideologija i ova budalaština koju su izmislili i provlače svuda.
And I was like, okay, I'll watch your documentaries and I'll talk to your people, but I'm not going to get on a Zoom call with 45 different people who can have their phones out videotaping me, and I feel like that's extremely abusive.
Naravno, čuj vic, da nije, ovo je nenormalno, bolesno.
After the firing, something happened that Disney didn't expect. A massive backlash against them. I Stand With Gina Carano was trending. She even had some co-stars have her back, including the late great Carl Weathers and Bill Burr.
No, she was an absolute sweetheart. Yeah. Super nice fucking person, and you know, whatever. And somehow someone will take this video and they'll make me say something else and, you know, try to get rid of my bald action figure.
While still under the contract at Lucasfilm, Gina Carano was asked to unfollow certain Twitter accounts, including Geeks and Gamers.
Hey everyone, I'm here with someone special.
There were current Lucasfilm employees starting GoFundMes in protest of Gina. And interestingly enough, just a few short months later, her co-star Pedro Pascal posted a tweet that called half the country Confederates and one of the bad guys from WW2. And after that, he was not reprimanded, he was not forced to apologize, and he wasn't forced to go through a 40-person Zoom room struggle session. No, he was awarded with every role in Hollywood.
Imao je njihovo mišljenje.
Now, Gina could have bent the knee, read her apology, did whatever it takes to keep her Star Wars role. Instead, she decided to be one of the precious few to stand up and fight back, showing she has the biggest metaphorical balls in Hollywood. And now, with the help of Elon Musk, she's suing Disney. And one could make a pretty good argument that Lucasfilm has yet to recover from this.
Let me tell you how awesome this is. Pull this up. Check this out. Do you know when Disney's valuation was the highest ever in the history of its company? February 2021 is when Disney was worth the most ever. $341 billion. They lost $140 billion from the day they fired you.
And I think, honestly, Hollywood's
tad je počeo krah njihov totalni.
I think they're shook.
Tad su svi
I
pošizali.
think they see the hypocrisy.
Tad je bilo dosta.
I think they see the double standard. And I read this somewhere. It's like, don't try to ruin my life with lies when your life can be ruined with the truth.
Bravo, kraljice. Obožavamo te.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Strašno. Nisu znali više šta da radi. Koliko su upropastili sve. Freaking Ray, dude.
Number 4, The Rise of Skywalker. Somehow, Disney Star Wars made Finn more of a joke. Somehow, Rey finds a knife that's also a map that leads to another map to help find a secret Sith base in the middle of the desert on planet Coachella. Somehow, they fly now.
They fly now? They fly now? They fly now? They fly now?
Kako se nikad ne desilo.
Somehow, the Death Star from Return of the Jedi, which was vaporized, now has large pieces intact. Somehow, there's horsies on a Star Destroyer. Somehow, Palpatine got laid and had children who gave birth to a granddaughter named Rey. Somehow, Grandpappy Palpatine, with the help of his granddaughter Rey unintentionally, was able to wipe out the Skywalker line, and that was considered a victory. And somehow, Rey ends up with the Skywalker name in a film that should have been called The Rise of Palpatine.
Where's Ben? Where the is Ben?
Rey Skywalker.
Kako su pošizali
there was toying with like an Obi-Wan connection, and then it really went, there were like different versions, and then it really went to that she was no one, and then it came to episode 9, and JJ pitched me the film and was like, oh yeah, Palpatine's granddaddy, and I was like, awesome. And then 2 weeks later he was like, oh, we're not sure. So he kept changing.
Somehow,
zato što nije znao kako da zadovolji fanove više, na koji način, šta je bio pravi potez, zato je samo menjao i na kraju su bacili Palpatine, ali nisu znali više šta, pošto je sve otišlo u propast. Kao da mu je pa to bio dobar potez.
Able to talk Jar Jar Abrams into coming back and making the dumbest and worst Star Wars movie ever made.
If you guys had the opportunity to continue your character stories on a Disney Plus series, would you take it?
Nope.
I fucking love
Bravo,
you.
majstor. Ovo Felicity bilo.
Oh, I really don't like it. It'll be all right.
There's nothing more important than knowing where you're going. And the lesson is that, you have to plan things the best you can. And you always need to be able to respond to the unexpected. And the unexpected can come in all sorts of forms. And I do think that having a plan, I have learned in some cases the hard way, is the most, critical thing, because otherwise you don't know what you're setting up.
Šta je sledeće?
Today, I am proud to announce the Walt Disney Company is acquiring Lucasfilm, the global entertainment company founded by George Lucas and the home of the legendary Star Wars franchise.
Bolje od njega. I on je postao Bog, ali...
In addition to getting the rights to one of the greatest family franchises and epic stories of all time, Disney is also acquiring all of Lucasfilm's operating businesses, including Industrial Light and Magic and Skywalker Sound. George Lucas is a true visionary and an innovative epic storyteller who has defined modern filmmaking with unforgettable characters and amazing stories. The Star Wars universe now has more than 17,000 characters, inhabiting several thousand planets and spanning 20,000 years. And this gives Disney infinite inspiration and opportunities to continue the epic Star Wars saga. Fans can expect a new feature film, Star Wars Episode 7, in theaters worldwide in 2015.
Nekad bilo.
The fun of celebrating the return of these
To su se oni uopšte ljubili u usta. Koje to fore, jer su toliko bili dobri.
Characters that we know is certainly a part of this movie, but I never felt like we were telling a story about Leia, Luke, or Han necessarily. It felt like a story about a generational handoff. But this was really a story about Rey, about Finn, about Poe, and about Kylo Ren. And you can't have that handoff without cost.
Number 3, The Force Awakens and the killing of Han Solo. At the time, an insanely popular blockbuster, there is no denying, and the major motion picture Hollywood equivalent of clickbait. And the world started to understand what Star Trek fans knew for a few years. Jar Jar Abrams is a hack. After making a soft reboot or outright remake of what some will call Episode 4 A New Hope and us old guys will call Star Wars, our new group of cardboard cutout characters or straight up Mary Sue's meander through this creative bankrupt disaster filled with jangling keys and member berries, following a map that leads them to Luke Skywalker, who doesn't speak a single line of dialogue in this film. While Disney would like you to believe that the fans didn't like the female lead or the character of colors, The Force Awakens' worst crime was the vandalization and murder of the character Han Solo. Harrison Ford seems to like to return to legacy characters and make them absentee fathers like Rick Deckard and Indiana Jones. And it's no different in this case. Han Solo has regressed to pre-Star Wars form, who's become an absentee father and bailed on his wife, Princess Leia. That might have been over her demotion to general, but that's not important right now.
Na gluposti, ne znam zašto su to izmišljali, samo da bi večito stavljaju mušku osobu u negativnu situaciju, kao nekog negativca, iako je možda glavna dobra uloga, ali opet je nekako izuzetno negativno.
It's widely known that Harrison Ford wanted Han Solo to die in Return of the Jedi and
da, on je siguran sam želeo što pre da izađe iz tog filma. To sam siguran, njega ne interesuje ništa od ovog.
Only agreed if he died here, and this is why you shouldn't listen to adult pretenders, even ones as great as Harrison Ford. Instead of riding off into the sunset or at the very least dying a hero, he goes out like a punk, dying a pointless death at the hands of his son. And that sealed the deal and led to one of the worst cinematic mistakes in Hollywood's history. The reason everybody showed up to this film is because of the promise of Han, Luke, and Leia reuniting. And that was now...
To je jedini razlog bio, čoveče, kakvi novi likovi, šta je. Oni ih sve pobijali. Neki su, nažalost, i sami preminuli. Zapravo.
I don't want to freak anybody out here, but I think we just made a Star Wars movie.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Number 2, The Last Jedi.
Oh, Bože.
a divisive failure that will be analyzed till the end of time. Rian Johnson's subversion of expectations simultaneously ended some YouTube careers and launched hundreds with thousands of hours of content, and it also became the hill the access media died on. Whether it's continuing the story of characters that range from bland to Mary Sue, proving all the Snoke theories didn't suck because what Rian Johnson came up with was much worse.
I didn't want you to be blindsided. It climaxes with a spectacular death of Snoke. I'm sorry, but it's glorious. So it's like, so did the page back? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I'm a genius. You're f***ing wankers. You'll never see me again. You don't deserve to see me again.
Turning the character of Finn into more of a clown, putting Reylos on the map, putting an anti-capitalist message in the Canto Bite scene within a film that cost $300 million from a multi-billion-dollar corporation, to introducing the insufferable Admiral Holdo.
Brate, koliko su stvari i u tom filmu natrpali, znači više ne znaš ni šta gledaš, brate mili. A ono zašto si došao gledaš, to nije ni bilo u suštini.
And making Princess Leia insufferable.
You start an attack, you follow it through. You're demoted. Whoa, wait. We took...
Oh, it's so nice. It feels like... It feels so good.
And then following it up with the second most cringe scene in Disney Star Wars.
Da, princeza Leia je postala Mary Poppins. Znači nisu znali kako drugačije da ubace, da koristi te njene moći po prvi put, nego na ovaj glupi način. A ono što su stvari trebali da urade, pošto je žena već preminula, nažalost, zapravo, trebali su samo da ostave tu scenu da je otišla u svemir negde i to je to, nisu trebali da je diraju onda uopšte. Ovo je ispalo užasno glupo. Brate, koliko je ovo glupo bilo je. Je, tek sad vidim, jedno sam vidio ovu scenu i bila je glupa, sad kad pogledam ponovo, još je glupa. That's great.
I just immediately adored her from the start.
There's a lot of suck to choose from, but the single biggest crime against imagination is what Rian Johnson did to Luke Skywalker, taking the beloved character who was a farm boy who ultimately helped save the galaxy and redeem his irredeemable father and turn him into a quitter, who ran away from all of his friends and family because he had a bad dream and almost killed his nephew.
And I think it's just because the attitude of tossing on the go worked really well. So it's still keeping that kind of like...
Well, see, again, I mean, and I told Brian this, it's no surprise. I said, I just fundamentally disagree with your concept of this character and how you use him.
But why in the hell give fans what they want? No one wants to see a Jedi Master Luke Skywalker at full power kicking ass when you can watch the hero of generations become a bitter old man who drinks blue milk out of a manatee titty, gets his ass kicked by a girl, and ODs on the Force.
Subverting expectation, to je njihova fora bila tada. Pa makar po cenu toga da uništi neki karakter i da zagorča život fanovima.
Wow.
And the rest is herstory. The well-earned fan backlash was swift and unrelenting. Couple that with the gaslighting media and Rian Johnson not taking the criticism very well, it devolved into a PR disaster for Disney over the next 2 years. Little did we know at the time that this wasn't a one-off, it was the beginning of a new era in Hollywood and things would get...
Da, nismo ni znali da je početak ogromnih budalaština što se tiče Star Warsa u Disneyu.
Much worse.
Niko nije ni konta. Šta su oni uništili? Oni su uspeli da unište Star Wars, a uspeli su da unište i sopstveni projekat, tako dobar projekat. Naravno, mislim na Marvela. Da doživiš toliki uspeh sa Marvelom i da krene toliko nizbrdo zbog vaših ideologija glupavih. To stvarno treba čovjek izvesti.
If you told me 40 years ago when I was a youngster who used to get made fun of for liking Star Wars when it was cool that I would be making fun of Star Wars, I'd say you're crazy.
Da, ovo niko nikad ne bi rekao, ovo je neverovatna sprnjak. Šta je život, brate, mili, kako se sve okreće, čudno je.
But here we are, number 1, The Acolyte.
Oh my god, ovo je izgledalo najveće budalaštine koje su napravili. Kuda ova mala ušla u tu seriju?
Whoa, this one's wildly photorealistic.
That's crazy.
You just have like a face destined to be 3D scanned. Okay, sorry, I was dumbfounded. I need to see your guys's.
Oh, I have a little earring. The most fashionable Jedi ever.
So sick.
Wait, we can make them fight.
Let's make them fight, please.
Acolyte.
The Acolyte, a show that was in development for 4 years from former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland, was a murder mystery about two twins played by one actress the exact same way, who were conceived by a coven of communist lesbian space witches without a man, who just wanted to practice their communist space lesbian witch ways freely from the oppression of the Jedi, who are the bad guys in this show. It also features Queermere, at least I think that's what his name is, a Sith who just wants to freely practice the dark side of the Force free of the Jedi oppression, and a show whose pitch made Kathleen Kennedy cry turned into a non-stop meme machine, including in no particular order, fires in space, giant stone structures catching on fire, leading to the death of the communist lesbian space witches. The best actor in the series can't speak English.
I will contact Master Finestra, the Jedi will meet us here. There is a versions on this planet. You're not even sisters. You're...
Room temperature IQ Jedis getting murdered, Jedis committing suicide, Jedi-abetes.
Anger is not the way to get
You okay?
And the single most cringe scene in Disney Star Wars history.
Da.
Power one. Power two. The power of many.
Kaki su oni luzeri ljudi, kaki su oni poremećene ličnosti. Ko je ovo mogu da napravi i da snimi i da kaže ovo je vrh? Brate, šta s vama nije u redu?
The power of one. The power of two. The power of many.
And after watching this intersectional feminist fever dream, it's no surprise Lucasfilm ran with the preemptive fan attacks. And they didn't stop there. No, star Amandla Stenberg thought it was a great idea to attack the fans with the diss track. But they got one thing right. It was the gayest Star Wars ever. And the best unintentional comedy in years. Sadly and unsurprisingly, The Acolyte, shortly after its finale, was canceled. This was followed by the Access Media and Star Wars channels that just coincidentally were recently at Lucasfilm visiting with showrunner Leslie Headland lost their minds. Now, a rational person might surmise that this was canceled because the show cost between $180 and $230 million and no one watched it. But of course, it's the fans' fault for not watching the show that wasn't made for them. The Acolyte did have some passionate fans. There just wasn't enough. Because it's easier to believe the lie than face the truth. Those toxic fans were right all along. The Acolyte is everything Kathleen Kennedy wanted her Star Wars to be. It's Disney Star Wars in its final form. And it just so happens to be its biggest failure. A culmination of events stemming from Lucasfilm's actions and behaviors towards the fans they took for granted. And the truth remains, Kathleen Kennedy and her ilk broke the money printing machine that was Star Wars, taking an intellectual property that could have lasted forever and stamped it with an expiration date that's passed. And it looks like turning Star Wars from a boy brand that everyone can enjoy into a girl brand no one can enjoy has proven to be the costliest decision in movie history. That's our list. If you don't agree with us, feel free to discuss it or make your own in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, you can check out another video right now.
Sjajan video, stvarno. Ne, ovaj video je negde oko pola sata trajao, ali je stvarno sve onako stavio na jedno mesto, sve njihove propasti. Ovo sad videti onako sve skupa odjedanput je zaista izvanredno, pošto većinu stvari sam već i zaboravio. Potisnuo sam iz memorije, zašto ću uopšte da je čuvam u glavi. Sve ove informacije i ove scene glupave. Da su uništili Star Wars skroz na skroz, jesu. Star Wars ja mislim da je mrtav već neko vreme. Ovo što se sada proizvodi, iskreno ne znam ni za koga je, ni šta znači, čemu, pogotovo čemu toliki milioni utrošeni. Zašto želite da propadnete financijski? Stvarno ne mogu da shvatim. Budući da su najavili i da će praviti još jedan film sa ovom glumicom, baš koja je sada na ekranu. Navodno su potpisali ugovor valjda za još 3 filma sa njom. Da li zaista misle da je to dobra ideja, posmatrajući stvari sa finansijske strane? A svi vrlo dobro znamo da je to jedina strana koju oni posmatraju. Financije, profit. Ali kad sve vidimo ovo, stiče se utisak kao da su želeli jednostavno da bankrotiraju, brate mili. Ja mislim da je problem u izuzetno poremećenim ljudima. Veliki je problem u tome što se propagira ta ideologija. Ogroman problem je što su zaposleni tamo raznorazni LGBT aktivisti, feministi, koje kakve gluposti. Njima tu nije mesto. Umesto da su zaposleni ljudi koji vole Star Wars i koji znaju šta rade, eto, dobili smo ovakve ljude i dobili smo ovakve produkte. Nažalost, to je to. Ovo stvarno pre 20 godina niko nije mogao da kaže, niko nije mogao da očekuje, ali eto, nažalost, došli smo tu gde jesmo. Šta vi mislite o svemu ovome, o celom ovom Disneyevom Star Warsu? Šta mislite o ovom videozapisu? Ukoliko vam se sviđa ovo što je Nerdrotic rekao i iskazao putem ovog videa, idite kod njega na kanal i podržite ga klikom na like, imat ćete link dole u mom opisu. Takođe, ukoliko vam se sviđaju ove moje reakcije, zveknite like i ovde, kliknite na subscribe ukoliko niste pretplaćeni, totalno besplatno na moj kanal, a voljeli biste da gledate ovake reakcione sadržaje u budućnosti. Takođe, bilo bi dobro da aktivirate to zvonce notifikaciono koje će vas obaveštavati kad god izađe moj novi video. Možete podeliti ovaj video i drugim ljudima, podržite ovaj kanal kako god znate i umete. Hvala vam puno na vašoj dosadašnjoj ljubavi koju ste pružili ovom kanalu, neki od vas. Mi se vidimo u idućoj nekoj reakciji. Sve najbolje vam želim. Ćao, ćao!